Okay, so we are going to have a look at one of the questions that crops up quite often in the City and Guilds Level 2 reading paper. And this is the one that's asking us to identify idioms. So first off, obviously, what you're doing is you're looking at the marks that you've been given. And in this case, we've got 6 marks. And it's asking us to identify 3 examples and explain. So we're going to get a mark for each of the 3 examples of idioms we've found, and a mark for explaining what they mean. Quite often this is a 1-mark question. They'll give you an idiom and expect you to explain the meaning of it. Sometimes though it'll be like this. You'll be asked to find idioms from the source. So an idiom is basically an expression. It's a common colloquial expression where the words themselves mean something different from the actual meaning of the phrase taken together. So your job here really is to look through this and look for any phrases. So let's just have a look here. Makes you tick. What makes you tick is an example of an idiom. Now, often, even if you don't know what this expression means, you can read around the expression and try and get a clue as to what it's talking about. So this entire sentence says it's important to evaluate your position, your strengths, and what makes you tick before making a decision. So what makes you tick? Well, we've had a look at position, we've had a look at strengths. So what makes you tick could be something to do with what your strengths are, could be something to do with what you're good at, what you're interested in. What you're interested in could be an interesting clue there, because we've had a look at the position, we've had a look at the strength, so what you're interested in is a fair guess as to what this means. And obviously we're finding 3, so it'll be your job to go through and have a look for any more. Jump ship, there we go, that's our second one right there. So again, we'll read around it. If you take on a job with no educational commitments, it is easier to jump ship than if you have committed to an apprenticeship or continued in education. Well, what could we replace that with? What words could we replace that with and it would still make sense? If you take on a job with no educational commitments, it is easier to something than if you have committed to an apprenticeship or continued in education. Well, we could replace that with leave, with quit. We couldn't really replace it with it is easier to stay, really, could we? Because that would make no sense, because in the next set part of the sentence it's talking about committing to an apprenticeship or continuing education. So yeah, a fair guess there would be that it is easier to jump ship means it is easier to leave, to quit. So it's up to you to find another one of these now.